Welcome to the usawestambia.com. Today's UPSC JS1 discussion is what is liberalization? Effect on Indian social structure. Liberalization refers to the process of reducing government restrictions and regulations in various sectors, especially in the economy, allowing more freedom for businesses and individuals. This idea is closely linked with globalization, market-driven reforms, and open economies. It aims to encourage growth by making markets more competitive and providing individuals with more opportunities to pursue their interest in India. The liberalization movement began in the early 1990s. The significantly altered the country's economic landscape. However, the impact of liberalization has not been confined to just economic growth. It has also had significant effects on the social structure of the country. Understanding liberalization. Liberalization, in a broad sense, means loosening restrictions and allowing greater participation of the private sector in various industries. This includes reducing tariffs, court and trade barriers, as well as opening up sectors like banking, manufacturing, and services to private players. In India, liberalization started in 1991 when the government, under the leadership of then Finance Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh, introduced a series of economic reforms to combat the balance of payments crisis and stimulate growth before liberalization. India's economy was primarily controlled by the government, with a significant presence of state-owned enterprises in key sectors. The economic policies were largely protectionist, aiming to shield domestic industries from global competition. However, by the early 1990s, this model led to inefficiencies, slow growth, and stagnation. The liberalization reforms included trade liberalization, lowering of import tariffs, removal of export restrictions, and the encouragement of foreign investment. Industrial liberalization, reducing the control of the government over private businesses, especially in sectors like manufacturing and services. Financial sector reforms, changes to the banking and financial sector, allowing for the introduction of private and foreign banks and reforms in stock markets. Tax reforms, simplification of the tax structure, introduction of the goods and services tax (GST), and reduction of corporate tax rates. Impact of liberalization on the Indian economy. Liberalization has had a profound effect on India's economy. It transformed the country from a closed, centralized, planned economy to an open market-oriented one. Here are some of the key effects. Economic growth. India's GDP grew rapidly after the liberalization reforms were implemented. The country became one of the fastest growing economies in the world, with increased investment and production, particularly in technology and services. Increased foreign investment by opening up various sectors to foreign companies. India attracted a significant amount of foreign direct investment (FDI), especially in industries like telecommunications, automobiles, and retail. Rise of the service sector. The liberalization process facilitated the expansion of India's service sector, especially in information technology (IT), businesses, process outsourcing (BPO), and financial services, making India a global hub for outsourcing private sector growth. There was a rise in private enterprises across various sectors, including manufacturing, retail, and telecom, and the Indian market became more competitive. This led to improved efficiency and innovation, consumer choices, and standards. With increased imports and competition, consumers in India had access to a wider range of goods and services, often at better prices. The quality of products improved and new standards of living emerged. Social structure in India. The pre-liberalization era. India before liberalization was a predominantly agrarian society with a strong focus on social hierarchies. The traditional social structure was defined by rigid caste systems where social status, occupations, and interactions were often predetermined. The post-independence period also saw the expansion of the public sector, which provided job security to many individuals but also resulted in a system that encouraged patronage, inefficiencies, and limited upward mobility. During this time, social welfare schemes were focused on poverty reduction, education, and healthcare. But the growth was slow and the country struggled with social inequalities, especially in rural areas. The impact of liberalization on the social structure. Liberalization did not only affect the economy but also the social fabric of India. Some of the changes in Indian society after liberalization are outlined below: class disparities and wealth gaps. One of the most visible impacts of liberalization has been the widening gap between the rich and the poor. While the urban middle class has seen its income rise, the rural population and many urban poor have not benefited equally. The rise of a new affluent middle class with greater access to international goods and services has been accompanied by the marginalization of the poorer section of society. Urbanization and migration. The liberalization policies led to the growth of cities and the development of new economic hubs, especially in technology, finance, and retail sectors. This urban growth attracted a large number of people from rural areas seeking better employment opportunities. The migration to cities in search of jobs has led to rapid urbanization, with both positive and negative impacts on the social structure. Positive impact: improved infrastructure, better employment opportunities, and rising standards of living for many urban dwellers. Negative impacts: overcrowding, slums, and the rise of socio-economic inequalities in cities. Educational and employment opportunities. The liberalization of the economy brought with it an expansion of educational institutions and employment opportunities. The growth of the IT and services sectors led to the emergence of a new class of professionals who were skilled in modern technologies and languages. This change created more opportunities for upward mobility, especially for young people from urban and semi-urban areas. However, access to quality education and employment opportunities remains unequal, particularly in rural areas, and social discrimination based on caste, gender, and income continues to affect access to opportunities. Gender equality and women employment liberalization has led to changes in the role of women in society, especially in urban areas. The growth of the services sector, IT industry, and private companies created new opportunities for women to work in professional environments. Women have increasingly entered sectors like banking, media, and technology, and their participation in the workforce has risen. However, gender inequality persists in certain sectors, and rural women, in particular, continue to face limited opportunities and a lack of social support. Cultural shifts, liberalization also brought about cultural changes, particularly through the influence of global media, entertainment, and consumerism. With the rise of multinational companies, Western brands, and globalized lifestyles, Indian society experienced a cultural shift. Traditional values began to coexist with global trends, leading to a blending of cultures as well as conflicts in some instances, especially in rural areas. Caste dynamics. The caste system, while officially outward, continues to shape India's social structure. Liberalization, however, has had a mixed impact on caste dynamics. While there has been greater mobility for some lower caste groups, especially through education and employment in the private sector, caste-based inequalities and discrimination persist in various parts of the country. The increased focus on economic development sometimes overshadows the social challenges related to caste challenges and criticism of liberalization in India. While liberalization has led to many positive outcomes, it has also been criticized for exacerbating social inequalities. Some of the major challenges include unemployment, although liberalization has created new industries, many traditional sectors like agriculture and small-scale industries have struggled. Job losses in these sectors have resulted in increased unemployment, particularly among unskilled workers. Poverty and inequality. Despite impressive economic growth, income disparity between urban and rural areas has widened and many people remain trapped in poverty. The benefits of liberalization have not been equally distributed. Cultural erosion with the influx of Western ideals, traditional values, and local cultures have been diluted, especially among the younger generation. There are concerns that the country's identity is becoming increasingly globalized at the cost of indigenous uh, traditions. Liberalization has had a profound effect on India's social structure, altering everything from class dynamics to gender roles and cultural practices. While it has contributed significantly to economic growth, it has also resulted in widening social disparities. The changes brought about by liberalization have not been uniformly beneficial, and while many sections of society have proposed, others continue to face challenges as India continues to liberalize and globalize. It must focus on addressing these social inequalities and ensuring that the benefits of growth reach every segment of the population. The process of liberalization is ongoing, and its effect will continue to shape the social and economic landscape of India in the years to come. Thank you for listening us. You can check out our website usabestmba.com.